YouTube, how's it going? The GoDows is back, predicting every single score and pick against the spread for Week 6 of the NFL season. We're here every single Wednesday with this video. We also have straight up picks with the other guys of the GoDows. It's already up for Week 6. We got power rankings and a lot more still to come every single week. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, follow us on Twitter. A lot going on there. Links pinned in the comments for that, and our sponsors, Liquid IV. Code GOAT, GLD shop, code GOAT. Got the Rams chain on from the GLD shop. They have more NFL pendants, more jewelry. We have a giveaway going on with them. Links pinned in the comments. The score predictions. And we'll recap my against the spread picks at the end, go over my record on the year, things like that. But the Broncos are plus 10.5 at the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, and I do have the Chiefs covering that. I have a lot of favorites covering this week, so yeah, I actually think I only have one underdog, so pretty crazy. We'll see what happens, but I got the Chiefs winning by 14 points, 34-20. Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Chiefs to fully get going. I mean, they're winning football games, but they don't really fully feel like the Chiefs, but I think it's about to, I think they're kind of, close to breaking out. I think it could happen at any time, and pretty good moment here, Thursday night with your home crowd against a division rival, a defense that's definitely on the weaker side, maybe the worst defense in football right now. So I think big points. I think definitely in the 30s, so 34-20 is what I have. The Broncos, they seem to be able to move the ball, here and there, on the small ball games, especially in the first half. I think they should be able to do that. Maybe the game's closer by halftime, and the Chiefs kind of really break out in the second half, kind of what I'm feeling for them. I'm going to go 34-20 Chiefs. On to the London game. We got Ravens and Titans. It's a tough one to pick. Tough one to predict the score. I'm somewhat confident with the Ravens, just straight up. But it's tough because the Titans I've noticed are really good at home, like a well above average team at home, and definitely below average away. This is a neutral game. Nobody's home in this game, but the Titans aren't home. So I'm going to think it's a little bit closer to how they play away rather than home. They're kind of an odd team this year. I do think the Ravens are overall better as well, but the Ravens they haven't proven anything yet. They slipped up against the Colts. The Titans slipped up against the Colts last week. The Ravens slipped up against the Steelers, last week, and you got to catch the ball better. Their weapons got to show out a little bit more. It's almost looking like it's Lamar and Mark Andrews, and that's really what they got on offense. At times, it kind of looks like that, but I think the receivers will catch the ball better. This is a good opportunity to get going through the air. I don't think they'll be super productive through the air, but you can't really run the ball on the Titans too well, so you're going to have to do something through the air. Receivers are going to have to catch the ball, and they'll do that definitely better than they did last week. I'm thinking more of a defensive game in London here. The Ravens are already there. The Titans are leaving later in the week. That usually favors the team that's there a little earlier, so that favors the Ravens. I like both defenses, but the Titans kind of rely on the run, and the Ravens will slow down that run, and they'll win 23-17 in London. But that's an interesting game. So I have the Ravens just covering the spread. It's probably not one I would touch against the spread, just because there's most teams we know what they're about. We know their identity. These teams a little bit up in the air still, and this game's in London on top of it, so it's not one I'm really looking to put money on. Next, Commanders versus Falcons is a tough one, too, against the spread. It's a 2.5 spread. The Falcons are favored, and I have them winning by 3, so I have them just covering by half a point, so that's a tricky one as well. Commanders could be a little sneaky in this game. Everyone's kind of down on them because how badly they played against the Bears on Thursday Night Football at home. So, it's something I can see because everyone's down on them, but they have more time to prepare. I can see them kind of, maybe stepping up a little bit in this game, getting the offense going. But I like the matchup for the Falcons. The Falcons seem like a much better team at home than they are away. They are at home in this game. I think that, Ritter got going last week in the passing game. Is that going to be a thing every single week? No, but the Commanders' defense is one of the very worst in football, so I think they'll play all right in terms of the passing game. But the run game, I'm looking forward to seeing. I think the Falcons can do some damage with the run game there. I think the Commanders could as well, but they might force a little bit more pass. The Commanders, in terms of their offense, force a little bit more through the air than on the ground, which the Falcons' secondary and pass defense is much, much improved. They got some guys that can make plays in the ball, and I think we'll see that in this game. So I am somewhat confident with the Falcons, but it could go either way with the spread. It's such a close call, but I think they'll win by 3 points here, 26-23. We have quite a few that are pretty close. Another 2.5 line, and I have the Vikings covering that by half a point. I think this should be a 3-point game. It's a game that could go either way. Justin Jefferson out. It's in Chicago. The weather's starting to get a little, starting to go south a little bit. So that could be a factor. The Bears tweaked their offense last week, so there's not much of a game plan on that. That could be a factor as well. But at the same time, will the Bears look as good as they did last week? It's unknown still at this point. They did play one of the weaker defenses in football. Vikings defense isn't the best, but they have a very strong blitz. So, how will Fields play under the blitz? And even though the Vikings don't have Justin Jefferson, they still have a strong passing game, and it should be effective against a weaker Bears defense. So I'd watch out for TJ Hawkinson to have a monster game in this one. I will take them 27-24. So just beating the Bears. A game that can go either way. It's one I would stay away from in terms of betting, against the actual spread. If you're looking at an alternate line, perhaps. But I'll take the Vikings. But that, again, game can go either way here. Seahawks and Bengals got a squeaker in this one. It's a 50-50 game in my opinion. I took the Bengals because I think they can start kind of getting back on track. They showed a bit of it last week, but the Seahawks are much tougher than the Cardinals. So that's why it's still up in the air. It's still up in the air like what the Bengals are. I am confident they'll get going, but are they fully back yet? Tough to say that. And the Seahawks, their pass rush looked really good, really good. They're averaging 4 sacks a game, looked really good last week is what I was getting at, but it was against the Giants, who have one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen. The Bengals are down there as well, but I wouldn't expect the Seahawks pass rush to be that crazy, but it still could be a factor. I still think you can move the ball on the Seahawks defense. They're still a work in progress, and the Bengals will do just enough there. But it's a game that can go either way, so I like the Seahawks covering the 3 spread, but the Bengals just squeaking by 24-23. That should be one of the better games this week. Niners-Browns, I'm thinking about putting money on this game right now, kind of getting ahead of it before the line shoots up, because it feels like, that's the risky thing though, but it sounds like Deshaun Watson will not play. And they said it'll be P.J. Walker, who couldn't even make the Bears roster, against the best team in football, maybe the best defense in football. So I don't expect the Browns to do much at all. If they have Deshaun Watson, I still don't think they'll score a ton of points. They'll score more than this, obviously, but Watson hasn't practiced yet. Even today, he did not practice. It could even be less points than this, without Deshaun Watson. 10 points, what I got. I still like the Browns defense a lot. I think it's one of the better defenses in football. They have a pretty good blitz. They're very good at man coverage. The Niners are the Niners, though. But I think a lot of running clock in this one, because when the Browns have the ball, it's going to be a lot of running the ball, running P.J. Walker. The Niners, they like running clock. They like, pounding the football, but, keep staying in bounds in the passing game as well. So 23-10, -6. That's going to shoot up once it's kind of confirmed that Watson is out. I'm surprised it's not locked, or if it's up in terms of the spread already. That makes it a little interesting. I was kind of surprised the week that Burrow against the Rams, we thought Burrow might be out. Like, there's reports coming out that the Bengals players don't think Burrow will play. And I'm looking at the line still sitting there at the Bengals by like 2 or 3, and I'm like, why didn't this change yet? Vegas knew something. So do they know? Because I think 6 would probably be the line if Watson's playing. Maybe 4 or 5 is possibility. The total, like the over-under, is really low. When you look at that makes it sound like Watson probably won't be playing. So it's interesting, but I don't think he'll play. And I think the 49ers they can cover the 6 even if Watson plays. If he doesn't play, they'll definitely cover the 6. So that is one I already have my eye on there, because I really think it's going to go up there. So we'll see. But the Niners are so damn good, but I guess they're due to slip up, and this is a really good defense they're going against. I just don't really see it here. Next, Panthers, Dolphins, big line, 13.5. The Panthers are getting for a reason. The Dolphins are one of the better teams in football. They're at home. They have crazy home field advantage while it's still hot out there, and the Panthers are the very worst team in football. I do think there's a chance that Bryce Young and this offense can get something going. They've got something going later in games, the Seahawks game, the Lions game, but not really a steady thing throughout the entire game. Well, Andy Dalton was one of those games. Don't keep in mind the Seahawks. But I think there's an opportunity here. The Dolphins defense looks a little vulnerable compared to what we thought they would be. So here's an opportunity to get something going, but the Dolphins are just going to be too explosive on offense, even without Achane. Jeff Wilson's coming back, but Mostert's fine. He's going to be great. The passing game's going to be strong. It is a little different than the Giants matchup, I suppose. They're both bottom tier teams, but Giants are going to run more man coverage. The Panthers are going to run more cover 4, maybe a little bit of cover 3 as well. So the Dolphins are better against man coverage, so you could say the better matchup was against the Giants, but Panthers are, pretty rough right now, and it's in Miami in that scorching heat. I don't know how scorching it'll be this week, but it's still fairly early in the year, and it's Miami. So 34-20 is what I like. It's just covering that spread. I wouldn't bet on it with that spread. We did win a bet. If you follow us on Twitter, I post the tickets, the slips, but we did bet on an alternate line, Miami, the Dolphins against the Giants, and that was pretty much a lock. So maybe parlay some of those alternate lines again could be the way to go. Dolphins, Niners. We'll have our locks video later in the week, and we're always talking about those things on Twitter as well. But 13.5. I usually tend to stay away from those gigantic lines, but there's a reason the Dolphins are favored by that much. The Colts and the Jags. This could be a trap game because there's always one game a year between the Jags and Colts where the Colts get the Jags. It's usually in Indy, though, and the Jags already took care of business in Indy. And that's the argument for the Jags. They already took care of business in that one where that was more of the trap game, and the Jags are better now. They're looking great lately, and they're home in this game. And the Colts' weakness is their pass defense, and the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, those receivers, they're really getting going, so they can make them pay for having that as their weakness. So everything just points towards the Jags. The better team, the matchup, they're at home. Again, they're just plain and simple better. And the Colts have been, maybe winning a little bit more games than we thought. I mean, 3-2, but it's not like they're 5-0 or 4 and whatever it is. But they are maybe a little bit tougher than we expected. So maybe it keeps it kind of close. I guess why I said this could be a trap game is because the Jags spent 2 straight weeks in London and maybe having a little bit of a hangover coming back. That could be something, I suppose. It's hard to predict straight off that. It's in Jacksonville. They already took care of business away. The pass game is what I look at. It really should beat up the Colts here, but honestly, based off like talent and matchup, I think the Jags should win by more than this. But I do see a lot of people picking the Colts +4. Maybe because the London factor. Everything's pointing towards the Jags in this one, but it should be an interesting one. Yeah, the Colts do have that strong running game, but, again, Jonathan Taylor, second week back. Zach Moss has been fantastic, especially fantastic last week against the Titans' run defense. But the Jags' run defense has been pretty solid. They really shut down the Bills. They took that away from them. It's going to depend on how these two teams start. So Colts have been starting games pretty well, so we'll see what happens. But I got Jags 27-20. Could be a sneaky one, I suppose. This is one of the better games of the week and one of the tougher ones to pick. The Saints are favored by 2. I've seen it around 1.5 and 2. But the Texans are at home. It should be a really good game. It's tough because the Saints got a really good defense, one of the best in football, one of the best secondaries in football. C.J. Stroud really hasn't slipped up yet. And he's going to at some point because he's a rookie. Every quarterback does, even veterans. And maybe this could be the time because the Saints secondary is in that defense. It's just really, really good. So maybe they get that interception. Maybe they get 2 on them. It's a possibility. Saints offense has talent on paper all over the place. So they should be able to move the ball, but they've really only have done it in one game. So I still want to learn more in that category for the Saints. If this was in New Orleans, I wouldn't really hesitate. I would take the Saints, but it being in Houston makes it that much more interesting. I will take the Texans. I like that they play a little more. I don't know if they're more balanced on paper, but they play a little bit more balanced. Kind of keep an eye on some injuries in the secondary for the Texans, though, in this game. But they did sign Jason Verrett, who is familiar with DeMeco Ryans' defense. But I think they'll have a good game plan to keep that Saints offense slowed and it being more of a defensive game here. So in Houston, we'll take the Texans. They do just enough in this game. 19-17. That's a flip of a coin type game, though. It's going to be a fun one. Patriots, Raiders. I'm going to go with the Raiders by 6. They're favored by 3. That is a little tricky of one, though. This matchup could, maybe get the Patriots going because the Patriots they got destroyed last week when they played the Saints. The Saints are more of a defensive team. They're like the Patriots. They're more of a defensive team, but maybe a matchup like this where the Raiders aren't great on either side of the ball, but the offense could be decent at times. The pass rush because of Max Crosby is pretty good, but maybe because this is an opportunity for the Patriots to move the ball, and their defense still is a Bill Belichick defense, and they know Josh McDaniels' offense. Maybe that kind of gives them a chance to win here, but it's a struggle for the Patriots right now. The offensive line struggling, the receivers are struggling, the quarterback's struggling. Defensively, they're missing two top players. Their top player, Matthew Judon. I think Josh McDaniels, Jacoby Myers, Jimmy Garoppolo, they get revenge in this game. 23-17 is what I got. I think Max Crosby has a really good day like he always does. But getting after a struggling Mac Jones against a struggling offensive line here, 23-17 Raiders is what I got. Next, Cardinals and Rams. The Cardinals have been playing teams tough, and that 7-point spread seems like a lot based on how the Cardinals have been playing teams tough. I just got a feeling here, though, that the Rams cover that 7. Maybe that's a little bold based on how these teams are playing, but multiple reasons. The Rams being at home, but the Rams are better than their record. They've been playing better than their record. They're very explosive. I think they'll make some big plays through the air in this game. And I think the Cardinals are starting to come back down to earth a little bit, especially Josh Dobbs. I think maybe they're starting to, again, they're tougher than what we thought they were, but they're still a bad team, and I think they'll kind of get to where we maybe closer to where we thought they would be, and I think it could start in here in week 6. So I like the Rams winning by 10 points here, 27-17. I think they'll just have too much through the air. And where the Rams really struggles, where a pass rush really gets after them, but I don't know if the Cardinals really have a strong enough pass rush to do that. So no James Conner as well. So 27-17 is what I like here for the Rams over the Cardinals. Next, Eagles and Jets. It's also a 7-point spread, and I have the Eagles covering that. I think it's a good matchup for them. Bad matchup for the Jets. The Jets have been playing a little bit better lately, but they've been able to get some offense going, but struggling offensive line, struggling quarterback. Eagles. I know the Eagles secondary you can throw on them, but you have to get the ball out downfield and quick. So I think that takes kind of a better quarterback. Zach Wilson is not that, while they have a dominant pass rush of the Eagles in his face against a weaker offensive line. So I don't expect much from the Jets offense in this game. And the Jets have one of the better defenses in football, but the Eagles offense feels like it's getting going more and more. When they need to score, they will go score. They can do it on the ground or through the air. I think the Eagles will have a massive lead early. I think going into halftime, I think they'll have a bigger lead than this, actually. I think we could be seeing like a 17-0 at halftime, or a 17-3. I think that's what we could be seeing there. Or, maybe it's a 10-0, 13-0, whatever it may be. But then maybe the Jets adjust a little bit, but it's just not enough, and the Eagles are kind of just focused on running clock in the second half. So finishing more than that 7 points there. So the Eagles -7. I have them covering that -7. The Creamsicle retro logo looks fantastic, and I'm sure the jerseys will look great. The Bucs have been way better than expected. Maybe one of the more impressive teams in football. This is interesting. The 3-point line to me is interesting because am I going to guarantee the Lions crush that line? No, I have them covering that, but I kind of look at games, and in my head I kind of guess the lines, and I would have guessed much more. I would have guessed closer to 6 or 7 for the Lions in this one. The Bucs are a good team, but just because of matchup and how the Lions are playing, I would have guessed it would have been much bigger than 3. And usually when the lines are surprising like that, Vegas knows something, and those games end up being closer to that line than you think. So could it be a trap game for the Lions just because the Bucs at home wearing the retros that are absolute fire? And Vegas knows something here with this line. So do the Bucs pull off an upset? Maybe. And I really say it just because that line's that low, but I like the matchup for the Lions. I think they're a much better team. This is a bigger test for the Buccaneers. Buccaneers got a good defense. They got a good defense. It's mainly it's good because it's good, but it's mainly good because they make plays. And the Lions aren't going to turn the ball over a ton. It's also good because they get pass rush, especially with the blitz. The Lions' offensive line is a top-tier elite offensive line. Even when they had Decker out, it was looking just as good. They're just so well coached and such a good unit where I don't think they'll allow a crazy amount of pressure on Jared Goff. If the Bucs do get pressure, it's something new for Goff this year. I think they'll win the game. If the Buccaneers get their usual pressure, that's how they'll win the game. But I think David Montgomery's going to continue to run strong. I think the Lions can win in multiple ways. To beat the Lions defense is very much improved, very impressive. To beat them, you have to pass protect, but mainly you have to get the ball downfield, and the Bucs can do that. Baker's been impressive, and you have Mike Evans for that, but they're not a consistently push the ball downfield team. It's more of a let's go fast, let's get the ball out quick, let's get Baker in space, let him do his thing. It's impressive. I like watching it. It's just not really the formula to just torch the Lions defense. I think but they have it though. If they continue to get the ball downfield to Mike Evans, that'd be another way to win. So if the Bucs, two things: if the Bucs get the pass rush they normally get, or for some reason more against this stout offensive line, they can win. They're maybe the favorites then. And if they can stretch the ball downfield, if they continue to push it downfield, they can win the game. But as you can tell, the matchup kind of sides towards the Lions because the Buccaneers aren't like that deep ball team, and they're defensively they kind of rely on turnovers, and the Lions tend to take care of the ball. But I think it favors the Lions here. But this could be a sneaky game, I suppose, for the reasons I explained. But 27-20 is what I got. But two really good, really solid teams, so I'm excited about that. Excited to see those uniforms too. I love having that logo and the graphics. I want to use that every week, but we were kind of using it when teams actually wear their throwbacks. But on to the Sunday night game, which I'm not thrilled about. I kind of have a rule to stay away from that big of a spread, 14, but the Bills should cover that 14 spread. The Giants are awful right now, and they're extremely beat up. The Bills' pass rush has been good. They'll get after Daniel Jones, who's beat up, and it'll be Tyrod Taylor, the same thing. Could they be better off with Tyrod Taylor, but who knows. But the Bills will get a pass rush. They'll make plays. The Giants won't be able to do much at all. Like 13 almost feels like the top amount of points, the most amount of points they could score. And the Bills will be a little salty about the London game last week. They'll be wanting to just feel like, home in Buffalo. Let's get back on track here. So they'll make explosive plays, whether it's on the ground or through the air. The run game wasn't going last week in London. I think they get it going this week. So they'll make plays on the ground, through the air. They'll score points. They'll get the crazy pass rush. They'll make stops. I see them winning by more than 14. A candidate for an alternate line like a parlay. I talked about the Dolphins, which I did last week. We'll pair them with the Bills. Maybe the Niners in there if you want. It's a good opportunity there, but. I do like the Giants retro logo, which they're supposed to be wearing those this week. And then Monday night should be a great game. The Cowboys at the Chargers. I think it could go either way, but I do have the Cowboys winning, and I do have them just covering that spread of 2. Kellen Moore revenge game. Maybe he gets that revenge. The Chargers had an extra bye week to prepare for this game. The Cowboys looked pretty bad last week. The Chargers can move the ball. They run man coverage, which CeeDee Lamb was struggling to get open against last week. So those things kind of say Chargers could win this game, and those are reasons why I do think the Chargers can win this game. But the Cowboys, I think, will get things going. It's not the Niners defense. I think Lamb will get open more. The Chargers defense, to me, is on the weaker side. They look great against the Raiders when they get pressure. They're not going to be able to get that much pressure against Dak, against this offensive line. The Cowboys will get open through the air. I think the Cowboys mainly got to focus on the run game. They start with the run with Tony Pollard. They're a little upset they couldn't get it going last week, but the main reason they couldn't get it going was because they were down by so much right away. I don't think they'll be getting their ass kicked that early. So I'd watch out for Tony Pollard and his Cowboys run game controlling this game, which I think they'll be successful doing that. And then defensively, I know the Cowboys defense didn't look good last week, but let's be honest here, it's still a very solid defense. They will get pressure. They will make plays. I know Herbert will still make plays, but I think the Cowboys defense makes that extra play. I think I like both offenses. Maybe the Chargers slightly more. Maybe the Chargers slightly more because just Herbert's better than Dak straight up. They are missing Mike Williams. But maybe we like the Chargers a little bit more. And Eckler should be back. So maybe a little bit more than slightly more. Slightly more. But defensively, I don't think it's close. I think the Cowboys got them. And then you factor in a matchup that I love. It's the Cowboys run game. And the Cowboys run game will be successful. It'll control the clock, which could make the Cowboys offense look, better than the Chargers offense in this specific game. So the matchup is pulling me definitely towards the Cowboys here in this game. But Chargers at home, but at the same time, will it be more Cowboys fans there? I definitely could see that. Chargers at home, off the bye week, maybe. Maybe Herbert making some special plays to get the job done here. So looking forward to the matchup with a pretty good pass rush versus a pretty good offensive line. Looking forward to that matchup. But I think Pollard goes crazy. The more and more I'm talking, the more I'm thinking, yeah, that's going to happen. That Pollard has a really, really, really good game, and the Cowboys win with the ground, on the ground with the run game there. So Cowboys 26, Chargers 23. That should be a fun game as well. And then on to my against spread picks this year. I'm 46-29. I wasn't thrilled with my picks last week, but we were easily above 500. So we've been doing pretty solid this year. This week's a little tricky because I have all the favorites covering the spread except for one. But I have the Chiefs covering the 10.5. I wish it was 10. Maybe take an alternate spread there. The Ravens, I wouldn't touch the next 3. I would not touch. Maybe the next 4. The Ravens -4. I have them covering that, but it's a London game, first off, and both those teams are still trying to get a firm identity on. But the Falcons -2.5, I have them winning by 3, too close to call. Vikings -2.5, I have them winning by 3, too close to call. Seattle getting 3 points, I think it's a 50-50 game, like who's going to win. We still don't really know if the Bengals are back. We still don't really know if the Seahawks pass rush is that good. It looks good, but I'm not really buying in that it's that good. I definitely think it's improved. So still got to learn some things about both those teams. But since it's a 50-50 game and I picked the Bengals to win, I do feel more comfortable with the Seahawks getting the points there. But probably one I wouldn't touch. 49ers -6. I'm trying to jump on that now because I think it's going to go up. The Dolphins -13.5. They should cover that, but maybe an alternate line candidate there. Bring that down, put it in a parlay. The Jags -4. I see a ton of people I trust picking the Colts +4. But the Jags are the better team. The pass game should be effective, but they are coming back. I think that's why people are picking the Colts, because they're coming back from being in London for 2 weeks. So maybe that's a tricky one. Raiders -3, not one I'm thrilled about, but should cover that. And the rest of the games, the Rams -7. It's a lot of points for the Cardinals team that's been playing teams tough, but I got a feeling about that one. The Eagles should cover that 7. I love the matchup for them. The Lions -3 seems low. You think that would be higher, but could it be a trap game? Does Vegas know something? The Bills should easily cover the 14, even though 14's a lot. An alternate line type game. Bring that down a little bit. Maybe put in a parlay. Cowboys, yeah, it's probably too close to call in the Cowboys-Chargers game. The matchup definitely favors them, but the Chargers are home and coming off a bye. And you have Justin Herbert, but I like the Cowboys -2, but not in love with it, obviously. So some tricky ones. This one, it's a lot of these make you want to take the favorites, but are they traps? We will find out. I think we'll learn a lot this week in week 6. Week 4, 5, 6 is where we still are finishing learning about teams, what's their identity, and then you kind of start in, get going. Everything kind of stays a little consistent after this, or around week 7, 8, things spots like that of the season. So excited, very excited. The next video will be our bets and locks, so that's always a good one. We always are adding more and showing you my bets on Twitter as well, leading up to game time. So check us out on Twitter, link pinned in the comments for that. Join us for all of our content. We have loads of content every single week. Already got some up for week 6, so check it out. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. You will not be disappointed with our action here, with our stuff. So that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.